Hey, good folks. This is Redesign Your Work for clear next steps and healthy and sustainable workflow. We are very excited to have you with us. Welcome. EJ's here with me. We
Yeah.
both co-designed this together. And this is something that we've both gone through and that has changed our lives. So we're sharing a very personal technique. All right. So why are you here? The radical reason. You're probably, as we said earlier, at a crossroads, needing to transform something, either the way you're working or a project itself and foundationally. That's the crossroads right here.
Mhm.
All right. This lesson's perfect for you if you're not clear about your next steps, you're pushing too hard, feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, or stuck, feeling like an imposter, doubting the value of your work, worried about money, ready for change, or ready to start, grow, or revamp the project. If you connect to any of this, welcome. So how are we going to help you? Well, we're going to use the desire as your compass. We say this is our radical medicine. We say let desire be your compass. It's really because we believe that day-to-day actions you love are most effective to designing sustainable projects. In fact, if you look at your radical enterprise, it's actually made up of a bunch of radical projects, which are made up of a bunch of radical day-to-day activities and then a bunch of radical habits and practices. And if they're aligned with your desire, then your project will effectively be sustainable. So we feel like entrepreneurial resilience is really about sustained and sustainable passion in day-to-day activities.
Mhm.
So what are we, what are you going to end up with? What are we helping you with? So really radicalizing your project, and we mean it from a root place, individually as well. So a radically redesigned, sustainable and sustaining idea, launch, product, service, project, enterprise. We're going to talk a little bit more about what we mean by that, but really you can pick whatever you want to work on here. It applies to everything. So we're going to walk through a design model because we're talking about redesigning. And if you work in corporate space or some nonprofit space, you may have seen this, the concentric circles, why, how, what. We use them a little bit differently, but we're going to talk about them as well. So why is really the purpose of the project? How are in our world, are the activities that are helping build the project, and packages is the form within which you present that project. So we talk about the D factor a lot also, EJ and I.
Mhm.
So the desire factor, really what radicalizes a project is, again, the day-to-day activities we were talking about. So looking at the desire factor, the day activities will impact how you identify your why and how you radicalize your packages. So that's basically going to be our focus for this lesson. So the fundamentals of redesigning your work, aka the desire factor, the D factor. All right. So another model that we wanted to introduce you to is, our model for radical enterprise. Really, we focus on these three concentric circles. We love concentric circles here because the spiral is sacred. So internally, it's the relationship to self. Then the relationship to partners, and then relationship to stakeholders. We believe that a radical enterprise is a healthy and sustainable ecosystem of, relationships.
Mhm.
Exactly. So, everything that you're doing in your business breaks down to systems of relationships.
Yeah.
So we say in the relationship itself, you're defining the project, and with the relationships to the partners, you're redefining together internally, and then with the relationships to the stakeholders, you're refining. So stakeholders, everyone else that's benefiting from the project, not necessarily more deeply participating. So there's gradation and people that fall in, across this spectrum. So this is just useful for you to understand a little bit about how we think at Turtle Tank.
Mhm.
All right, so what we'll focus on today is just that defined space. So this why, how, what model applies to all these three concentric circles, but we're going to just focus today on the relationship to self.
And the reason this is really important to us is that where most business programs start is on the outside relationship. So really focusing on that relationship to stakeholders. And what we find kind of gets ignored is, your relationship to self and then your relationship to like collaborators. And so we really want to start with that relationship to self because that's what builds a solid foundation that allows you to create something sustainable.
Exactly. A lot of design programs will give you good strategies. I like design thinking, for instance, in the way they do that, but they're primarily focused on stakeholders. And I think innovation happens across the board, and we've got to develop a process that addresses all three aspects. All right. So what's defined? It's really the more internal process of development and discovery, as EJ mentioned. And it's, how you can redesign your projects based on how you work, your needs and energy, which is really fundamental to start, and what you desire and love. All right. The process we'll go through to redesign is the following. First, you're going to pick a project. Second, you're going to take a snapshot of the project, how it's currently designed. 3, you're going to reevaluate the desire and activities relationship. So how desire is involved in those activities. 4, you're going to evaluate the project's desire factor, or D factor. And 5, you're going to redesign the project based on your findings. All right, let's get started. So you're going to pick a project. And again, I want to remind you, if you want to stop at any point, you can pause and actually run through the exercise with this video. You can watch it and then rewatch it again, run through the exercise. We're going to provide some worksheets, but we recommend doing this. So pull out some blank sheets of paper, or you can use a PowerPoint like we use here. This is essentially a PowerPoint. We use it in graphics in this way to think out loud. So first, pick a project. I'm going to pick a project for myself so that I can walk you through the example. So pick a project, an idea, an existing launch, a product, a service, a project, or an enterprise, or even a launch, a marketing strategy, or an operations strategy, or whatever you want to call it. Anything really can stand here because they all get designed through the why, how, what.
It's either something you're working on or something you want to work on.
Right. So pick something you're already working on that needs attention, something you are very excited to work on. That's the recommendation. So here's my project, Bella de Black. Some of you may know about Bella de Black. So we are in transition. So I'm going to show you how I went from transitioning Bella de Black into Whale Wonder, which was had a higher D factor for me, and more investment. All right. So step number 2, you're going to take a current snapshot. All right. Take a snapshot. We're going to flesh out the project design through the why, how, what model. Okay. So we're going to start with why, which is the purpose. So why is determine the preliminary most raw purpose or gift it provides others. This is kind of an essence type questions, not, it's really the guiding questions are, what's the transformation your project creates in the community or world at large? What's the outcome others will get from it? How will it impact their lives, well-being, health, relationships? This doesn't have to be human-centric. It can be, environmental, or, animal-centric, or whatever you want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and brainstorm some of those for me. So really what I wanted was to create a space for healing and transformation for people to live fuller lives, create radical wealth and abundance for marginalized people and all, help people find their purpose and manifest their visions, and incubate radical projects. So a way that I really try to integrate when I brainstorm is by looking at themes. So we've got some death, rebirth, healing, manifesting, purpose, birth of projects, wealth, abundance. You can take your time with this for you. And then I brought all of those things together into this big red bubble here. Help radical folks give birth to sustainable radical projects for a more human and healthy world. That's effectively what Whale Wonder is all about.
And Turtle Tank is a project of Whale Wonder.
Exactly. Thank you. Turtle Tank is a project of Whale Wonder. So you'll see how that all came about. All right. So just pick. if you're getting stuck and just pick something for now. It'll evolve. I promise you it'll change in a couple of weeks. As you can see, my internal mission has changed like several times over the last 3 years. So that's actually part of the process, and it's going to be impacted by this process in itself as well as you go through this process, probably by the end of the lesson.
Yeah.
So radical design model, again, we're moving into the how and the activities. So we did the why. How is determine the activities involved in the day-to-day creation of the project. Okay. If it's an existing project, write down the activities you are currently engaging in on a day-to-day basis. If it's a new project, write down the activities you believe you want to engage with on a day-to-day basis. So what's an activity? It's really a specific day-to-day function or something you're doing that brings your project to life. So here are our 4 categories that can help you brainstorm through activities. So category 1 is vision, and this is where any activity that's related to coming up with ideas, outcomes, determining outcomes and journey. Usually people who are heavy in vision activities or like vision activities need a robust team. Strategy is the area of activities where you're thinking through how to do things, how to implement systems and decision making. That's kind of where I live. Analytics, anything like that. That's my thing. All right. Then we've got management, anything that involves facilitating others, creating systems of facilitation. And then we've got production, anything where you create something with your hands or with your brain. So a product, a final form, a service, launch, development, implementation, all of that stuff. All right, so we're going to give you a few examples in each of those so that you can get a sense of it. So one of the projects in the middle we have here is the radical curriculum in schools. Mm-hmm. Here are the examples. So radical curriculum in schools, some vision activities would be brainstorming topics to cover and relevant exercises, coming up with content ideas, outlining the major social outcomes of your project. So imagine you're writing a job description for yourself, and really get detailed with those activities. Mm-hmm. So, in management, it's coordinating with designers, training your teachers. In production, it's writing out the curriculum, creating content, creating your art, teaching your curriculum. So the actual providing of the service fits in production as well. If you're a practitioner, that's here. In terms of strategy, it's outlining the curriculum, so high-level thinking, deciding the order of the material, designing your social media, strategic approach, designing a tool or something like that. That's something that would be used in production management, or to get the project out. Okay, if you're getting hung up on these definitions, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. What matters is that you flesh out all the activities. So
so use this if it's useful for you. If you're kind of getting stuck with what are the activities that I do, then you can use this as a way to kind of flesh things out. But if this isn't helpful, go ahead and put it to the side and just think through, like, okay, what are the activities I would do or think I would do to get this project done?
Exactly. Here's another example of the Radical Health Center. So same vision activities. We've got coordinating staff here, creating a system for client management and training your teachers under management. We've got productions as running programs, creating content, working one-on-one with clients, patients, and then in the strategy, outlining and leading marketing, designing your social media strategic approach. So that's another example for you. Now, my example, my project, Belly Black, so this is an actual. And I tried to put as many, activities as I could. There are a lot of more things that I didn't include in here, but just to give you an example, we've got brainstorming general direction, the model, outlining major social outcomes, brainstorming offering services in the vision section, facilitating other teachers, facilitating maintaining relationships with independent contractors. There's the production space. We've got web design, sales pages, class pages, lead pages, copywriting, co-creating digital curricula with collaborators, developing media for the curricula. So anything that I was very heavy in productions at that time. And strategy is really outlining the curriculum on a high level, strategizing, meeting with collaborators about all aspects of the product development and launch. That's in the strategy section. That's actually my favorite part. Okay. So I go ahead and if you want, you can do that too. Put the purpose in the middle and surround it with your wonderful activities here. So I just took those same activities and put them in a circle here. That's it.
Yeah, so those are the activities you're choosing to do to bring your purpose to life, bring your gift to the world.
Yeah, well, this is what you're currently doing, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to cover, anything that may be missing in a second. So this is what we're currently doing, right? Okay, so now let's walk into packages, all right?
Which is the what?
The what. So the yellow part, So what's the what? Determine the current and potential packages that will give your idea shape and form. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper. We've got this, this raw purpose in the middle, some activities, and now we're going to go into packages. So packages are the form through which you're offering your raw purpose. All right. So types of packages, we've got digital applications, platforms, digital service, one-on-one, group, workshop, retreat, coaching, consulting. We've got in-person services, media, physical products, organic products, social benefit, experiential benefit, etc., educational benefit, whatever. You can decide how you want to, define your packages. But these are some ideas so that you can kind of get the juices going. So we've got journeys, even collective travel, adventures, dining, rituals, etc. Also up down here. Okay. If you currently have some packages, put those in and brainstorm other possibilities for as many packages as you can think of, and consider hybrid, cross-pollination, and other possibilities. So combining different packages with each other. So, something is virtual and something is like live, then maybe a package is virtual and live, so something like that. Okay. If you don't have any packages, brainstorm possibilities for as many packages as you can think of right now. All right, so I put the packages that I was currently working on in yellow, and then the potential packages that I wanted to work on in green. All right, you're going to see how all this is going to change. So when I first started Bella de Black, I was thinking about a digital course on finding purpose that actually happened. We got a digital course on finding creative power that also happened. I was doing some one-on-one coaching for radical entrepreneurs, also happening. And then I was interested in creating digital retreat program for radical entrepreneurs, a network hub for radical entrepreneurs, some sweat equity in exchange for support for radical entrepreneurs in the company, and then purpose finding retreats with digital component. So there was something about creating some retreats based off of those digital classes. Okay. So those were my packages. So go ahead and, write out what your packages are, what you want them to be. Again, if you have one package, that's cool too. Right? All right.
Yeah. And that was your current snapshot.
I know, that was your current snapshot. So that was the biggest part. Now, we're getting to the middle, the meat. So reevaluate desire and activities. Step 3, we're going to identify and categorize activities based on desire. So this is the core of everything. So we're going to identify 3 categories of activities. So this is just to help you brainstorm. So activities you're already doing, which we just did, so you should have that ready. Activities you think you should be doing, so anything you feel like you're not doing right now that you should be doing, activities you want to be doing but aren't. Okay? So the want and should are different. Okay? Just remember that. So give yourself opportunity to brainstorm in these 3 areas. If there's anything you've forgotten from the first one, also add that. So here's my stuff that I'm already doing, and I already kind of went through that with you earlier. Here are the activities that I can think I should be doing that I'm not, and activities I want to be doing but aren't. I combine them into one thing. We've got analytics, speaking engagements, networking events, meeting with individual entrepreneurs, meeting with new teachers, traveling, music, project management, teaching systems, and discovering new systems and tools. All right. So here comes the wonderful exercise of categorizing activities based on desire. All right, so go ahead and create 4 categories: what you love, what you're good at but feel indifferent about, what you don't like, and how you're not sure, and the category where you're not sure how you feel about the thing. Okay, so here we go. What I did here is I categorized everything, and I highlighted the things that I love. So I do a lot of other things as well, but they weren't in here. So we've got copywriting, teaching systems. I like systems and tools. I like everything vision, everything strategy. I like meeting new people, speaking, traveling, analytics, and music. That kind of defines a good portion of what I like to do. Some of the things I don't like are project management, developing media, video, and graphics. I want to rip my hair out. Tech admin, I want to rip my shirt off. A general admin, I don't know what I want to do with that. And designing curriculum. All right, so this is something that's new. I thought I was interested in that, but actually not. I just like to come up with systems. That's why EJ's here. So this is an interesting exercise. So you're kind of done with section 3. All right.
That's the fun part.
I know that was the fun part. So, again, stop whenever you need to. Now in 4, you're going to evaluate the project's D factor. Okay. So what does that mean? That's the desired factor. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and revisit the list of activities. Here's the wonderful list of activities. Okay. Place them around your why and purpose. This is how exciting this looks for me. And I categorize them. So I went with the ones that I love in purple. I think the ones that I don't like in gray, I'm indifferent about and even grayer. And then the ones I don't mind doing, but I kind of do, are these 3 right here in blue. Okay. So the purple is my thing. All right. So mark the 5 activities that you spend most of your time doing.
And just estimate.
Ouch. So that's what I realized. And this is what, EJ and I talked about when we were working together, and she was my coach and I was her coach, etc. I realized that a lot of the activities I was doing on a basic level were in my, dislike / indifferent, not sure, and don't mind, which is awful. So I had a really low D factor, as we say here. So, this is an important realization. It was an important realization for me, even though in essence, I was doing what I wanted to do. The actual pieces of how I was doing that were off. And so it was unsustainable for me. It was driving me, wild, essentially, not in the good way. And so that's the issue here. So D factor evaluation for yourself. How many of the activities you selected are from your love column? Good question. Take a moment to kind of, maybe free write on this. How could you restructure your work so that most of the activities you spend your time doing are from your love column? 3, what kind of product services would you design if you only focus on the activities from the love column? Don't spend too much time on the 3rd one. We're about to walk into that. But again, you can pause here, take a moment to evaluate. I know this seems so basic, but I promise you this is life-changing. I promise you. My entire business shifted from under me because of this one exercise. Okay? All right. So here we have it again. Here's what I'm going to propose to you. We're going to redesign the project. Step 5, redesign the project based on the D factor evaluation. Okay? So this is D factor again. So again, remember, we were going to radicalize the whole activities section to change the project. So before, I had this that you can remember. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do something with this over here. We've got this.
Evaluate that.
So to increase my D factor, I'm going to ask myself, what kind of packages would I design if I only focused on the activities from the love column? Okay. This is important, even if you are like, well, I can just hire somebody to do X, Y, Z. That's not the point right now. Okay. Yes, this is, and remember, we have stakeholders and partners and all of that. But it's very important that you fundamentally, as an individual, if you're starting something, that you're clear about what your role is in that thing. Because otherwise, you won't find the appropriate partners if you're not clear, right, to start. And again, this is a process you may go through several times. And you will actually go through it several times.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just want to say something here, because sometimes people talk about admin here and be like, oh, but I hate admin or whatever.
Yeah.
And I have a theory that really, what's frustrating about like doing admin is that you're spending more of your time doing admin work and less of your time doing the thing that you actually desire.
Exactly.
And if you actually spend more time doing what nourishes you, what you love doing, then the admin work, 1, you have the energy and the focus to do it, or 2, you have the income to like hire someone else to do it.
Exactly.
And so we're not asking you to be unrealistic, but we're just showing you again, what are kind of the incremental changes you can make so that you begin to shift to spending more and more of your time doing activities that you really enjoy. And then,
Yeah, Exactly.
Decisions from there.
So we say this sometimes too. It's like shifting your center of gravity. You know, I used to hate time tracking. When I redesigned based on my D factor, I can't tell you. We have a hashtag time tracking is sexy at Turtle Tank. You know, it's true, because that's how a lot of us who love our work feel about time tracking, because it gives us a sense of how we're spending our time on the things that we love / don't love / increase the time that we spend on the things that we love, hire people, etc. And paradoxically, contrary to popular belief, when you do that, the more you move into those activities, the more likely you are to magnetize the people to move into the activities you don't want, and the more likely you are to be magnetic to attract the resources that you need, etc. So there's something in that that's, because your passion really shines through that and through those day-to-day activities again, right? Okay, so here's the possibilities. So I took out everything that wasn't my love activities, and I put the activities that I love here. So we've got teaching, discovering systems, copywriting, analytics, speaking, meeting people, music, traveling, all activities in strategy, and all activities in vision. Okay, so how does it redesign your what and packages? Okay,
how does considering your D factor help you redesign what you're offering,
right,
and how you're packaging it?
And so when I was focusing on this other stuff, I had designed a lot of digital courses with other collaborators, et cetera, which were great, but I was unhappy still, running this and really killing myself, doing things that I was not that invested in. And I'll talk a little bit more also later, we can talk about this in the Q&A more, about how when you first start, oftentimes you are playing multiple roles at once, even in production and whatnot. But I know that had I started with the D factor, I would have saved a lot of pain and money, running tests on things that I actually was interested in, in terms of activity wise, not the topics. The topics were fantastic. The people were fantastic, but the way I was working,
the way you structured your work,
right? The way I structured my own work was not working for me, and was not going to be sustainable over time. So here's an interesting way of looking at this. So when I started to look at these things, I was like, well, how can I do more teaching, creating, discovering new tools? I was like, well, I really need like a network of radical entrepreneurs, like a community or like an incubator for radical entrepreneurs. This is where Turtle Tank started to be born. Like Ija and I were having these conversations. We're like, we just want to keep interacting with people. We want to interact with people on a day-to-day basis, like constantly. That's where Turtle Tank was born, and then when we are in Turtle Tank, we're on fire. We feel like we're on fire. I don't know, because we're so passionate about what we're doing day to day. We love what we're doing. We love the people in the group. There's something really infectious about that. And the other one, is it's also tools and systems. I'm looking at practitioners and purpose here, interviewing Indigenous practitioners' purpose. That's really what I'm interested in, is like, different systems that they're using, because I'm a systems person, again, really getting clear about that. Again, copywriting also goes into, storytelling around some of these things, the think tank and the interviewing. And then we've got public presentations of radical economic concepts. So I'm looking at speaking. Again, everything in here fits in that systems, etc. And then a music album, visual journey, which I'll, talk about later. There are a lot of other projects that have come up from this, but I just wanted to give you a couple of examples. So when you start looking at how you can design a package based on that activity, it's got to become, this activity becomes central to that package. So how can you create the best possible space for you to serve through those activities that you love, and that will increase your D factor, increase your success, and sustain you, because you're gonna, this is a very challenging birthing process, and you need something to sustain you. If you're not rooted in a high D factor with your activities, you're more likely to give up.
Yeah. And I think also too, it's just like recognizing how we've been conditioned and shaped by the world that we live in terms of how it limits like the possibilities that we create for ourselves. And so sometimes we get caught up in what we think we should do, or how we should work with people.
Exactly.
Or we have a clear idea of what our purpose is, what our gift is that we want to share, but we think in like particular ways they need to be delivered. When you start with your D factor and you move out from that place, it just opens you up to more possibilities.
Yeah.
And these possibilities are part of also breaking the patterning of the ways we've been conditioned to think about ourselves, think about what's possible, think about how we should like move through the world.
Exactly.
And so this is why we call this a radical approach and tool, because it's really going back to fundamentally understanding like who we are, and then being able to express that like
Exactly.
free from like what's been pushed on us.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is it's very important because of what EJ said. And you know, I wanted to say something and totally missed my. I'm looking for as I'm speaking, but it'll come back. Okay. So before the current offerings, it came back. See, it's great. So when I first started doing the work, the epiphany that I had was, oh, you know, we're going to do digital courses because that's accessible and we can, you know, limit the pricing and all that stuff. And when I broke out of trying to do things like other people, which is what I was, you know, I was reading about digital courses and trying to set up digital courses, I realized that I could really design a course that was innovative, you know, and different and uniquely me, you know. And when Niji and I got together, we both did that with each other. You know, she brought in her own like flair and spice to it, you know, which was really fantastic. And, you know, I owe her, you know, more than 50% of this stuff. But, you know, it does, like EJ said, enable innovation, you know, and what we have going on at Turtle Tank is unique. It's unique to us. We designed it exactly how we want to work, you know, the timing and the people and the, you know, activities that we do. They're not for the people, they're for us. And then people happen to enjoy them and partake in them.
Yeah.
You know?
I think this is important too, just bringing it back to like, you know, strategic instinct and entrepreneurial resilience, is that, you know, I feel like Turtle Tank's the first project that I've been able to commit to and sustain like my interest in, even when it's gotten hard, you know, like, and so to me, like, this is really what we're sharing with you now is really what has made a difference in terms of really being able to like sustain this work and, you know, allow for it to unfold the way that it has.
Yes. Thank you, EJ. So back to radical design. So here's the power of the D factor. Okay, so it really helps with innovation. It helps with sustainability, sustained passion, entrepreneurial resilience, and strategic instinct. All the things we've been talking about. So we want you to determine some next steps for yourselves, and we have like a 3-step process here. So the first step is, what are the 4 next steps you need to take to start redesigning your project on the ground? So give yourself 3 to 4 next steps. Then 2, give yourself a time frame to integrate and complete them. So scope, if you tell, you know, a realistic time frame. And then 3, determine one very small habit based on an activity you love that you can implement to get started, that will help you feed those next steps. You know, and sometimes it's helpful to start with the habit first, like what's the habit you feel you want to implement, and then see what next steps will help you implement that.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you have questions about any of the stuff that we've shared, please come to Facebook office hours. We're going to be doing a bonus Facebook office hours session. Also come to the co-working session on Saturday. That's an opportunity to just come connect with the group and, you know, watch your video, go through the steps, like go through the exercises. Or maybe you've already gone through the exercises and you want to come to the co-working session to, like, you know, take those first 3 or 4 steps, like, you know, really use like the support that we're giving you in the space to actually take action on what we're sharing and what you've discovered for yourself. Yeah,
doing this, you know, watching this video is really 10% of the incubator. You know, implementing it, working through the worksheets, which we're going to provide, and, you know, asking for our support, getting support from us is really the 90% of the work. So we really, really recommend that you go through that and you see for yourself how things will shift. All right. That's it.
All right. Well, we're excited to see what you come up with and what you redesign.
All right.